All right, so Mega Man has actually been around for decades. We all know this, since 87. He's been around for the longest of time. But if you're new to Mega Man, it's gonna get pretty confusing on where you want to actually start at. Do you want to go Classic? Do you want to go X? You want to go Zero? Battle Network, Star Force, Legends? If you feel that at some point you had at least a very minute version of any of those questions, stick around, because I'm about to break down in this video all the major Mega Man series, what they play like, who they're for, and which one you should start with, so that by the end of this video, you know exactly where you should jump in. All right, first up, we got the classic Mega Man. So this is the original formula 2D action platforming where you pick the stages in any order that you want, defeat all the Robot Masters, and steal their weapons. Now, the core gameplay of this series in particular, it's got tight platforming. Like there's no mistake about it. They got it down to a T. It's got pattern-based boss fights and a weapon weakness system, meaning each boss is going to be weak against a different boss's weapon type. Now, this series has its own strengths. Purely, it's straightforward Mega Man experience. Like you don't even have to read too much of the booklet itself. You start playing, jumping, shooting, get to the end of the level, beat the boss, steal their weapon, you move forward. The level design is pretty iconic, easy to remember of how you need to traverse through each level. It's pretty easy to understand, not the easiest to master though. It can be pretty hard to get through. And what makes it hard to master is that it can be very punishing for new players. And like we didn't really have checkpoints that much back then, and if you lost all your lives, no save points either, so you gotta start from the very beginning. And compared to later series, the classic actually has limited mobility. I usually recommend this series to people who want that pure classic origin experience, and also people who just love the retro vibe of it. The game that I normally recommend though is Mega Man 2. Definitely start off with that one if you're gonna go the classic route. Alright, next up we got the Mega Man X series, probably one of my personal favorites. This series is a lot more faster, more advanced evolution of classic Mega Man. It's got dash mechanics, you can wall jump and scale, and it's got hidden upgrades to make the player a lot stronger by the end of the game, such as armor parts and heart tank. And because of the dash mechanics and the wall jumping, there's actually more freedom of movement. This series also has a deeper progression of systems. Earlier in the classic series, you couldn't charge your boss weapons. You can only just charge your Mega Buster. In the X series, you can charge your boss weapons, and after doing so, it can actually turn into a more powerful version of that attack. Not to mention that this still keeps the classic formula intact. A couple weaknesses about this series though is that in later entries, it actually drops in quality. And you'll see what I mean if you play X5 or X6 or X7. Another weakness about this series is that the secrets can be easily missable. Yeah, you might miss something that could upgrade you to give you an ability that would allow you to get a different upgrade. So it's not easy to find those, but when you do find them, it makes it very efficient. I usually recommend this series for people who want a little bit more speed and depth in their gameplay, and of course, people who are just modern platform gamers. A game that I would recommend for this is usually X1 or X4. Before we wrap up Mega Man X, there's one outlier that you need to know about. It's called Mega Man X Command Mission, and unlike every other X game, it completely drops the platforming action. Instead, it turns Mega Man X into a full turn-based JRPG. You build a full party, X, Zero, Axel, and many others, all with different roles like damage, support, and healing. Battles are all about strategy, elemental weaknesses, and team synergy instead of reflexes. Even the story shifts. X is no longer just a solo hero, but more like a commander leading a squad through a larger conflict. But here's the key thing. This isn't the core Mega Man X experience, it's an experimental side branch that never shaped the rest of the series. So if you're starting out, do not begin here. But if you ever wondered what Mega Man X would be like as a JRPG, then this is it. All right, now we're dabbling into my favorite, which is the Zero series. Now I will say, Mega Man Zero is actually a much harder story-driven continuation of the X timeline. The main cores about Mega Man Zero is that it has a more mission-based structure. They added in a ranking system, and the fact that it's more combat focused, considering Zero has his saber and you're going to be relying on your skills. There's a lot of cool things about Mega Man Zero. The fact that it's more deeper into the story and has a darker tone to it. Really skill-based combat system. I'm telling you now, the priority system is something you want to learn early if you want to really finesse and style on the game. The gameplay is also tight and rewarding. Like if you are able to get your skill up and traverse through the game very stylish-like, you can get some pretty nice rewards, such as more EX skills and abilities, different forms to take on, and so forth. Now, the biggest thing about Mega Man Zero though is that it can be very difficult, especially early into the series. The ranking system can stress new players if this is the first one that they go for. I usually recommend Mega Man Zero if they're more hardcore in the 2D platforming and if they want more of a challenge. A game that I would recommend to start off with in the Mega Man Zero series is 2. Normally I would say 3, but 2 is the one that's a little bit more forgiving than Mega Man Zero 1. Alrighty, and next up we got the Mega Man ZX series. There's only 2 games in this one. It's Mega Man ZX and Mega Man ZX Advent. This series is more of a mix of Mega Man Zero gameplay with a Metroid style exploration, or Metroidvania if you will. The main standouts about this series is that there's more exploration freedom and there's a unique transformation system. When you defeat a boss, you actually gain the ability to transform into a different model, and there are several different models that you can turn into. Now, a few draw points that could be with the ZX series is that the map can be very confusing, especially ZX, not so much ZX Advent, and it's less straightforward in the progression. I usually recommend this series to people who like more so the exploration aspect of the game, as well as backtracking if they like to go through that, and also if they like Metroidvania-like games as well. Like I said, there's only 2 games in the ZX series. You can start off with ZX or you can start off with ZX Advent. Usually I recommend starting off with ZX. Now we got the Legends series. This one is more of a full 3D action adventure take on Mega Man. Heavy on the exploration, dungeon crawling, and real-time combat. The most notable things about this series, it's unique on the world that it has, and the characters that you're introduced to. It is also story driven as well. Although not complete, it still tends to reel in players with its immense story. Now, this may not be the game for everybody, considering the fact that it's got dated controls. Remember, this came out on the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64, and it's a slower pacing game. Like it's not your casual, you can beat it in under an hour type Mega Man game, unless you really know how to exploit it. This is the series I usually recommend to people if they take exploration over difficulty. There's technically 3 games in this series. You got Mega Man Legends 1, 2, and The Misadventures of Tron Bonne. You can just go ahead and just start off with Mega Man Legends 1. Now we're into the Battle Network series. Now this one is more of a turn-based plus real-time hybrid RPG. It's set in a digital world though. You play as Lan, who has a NetNavi named Mega Man, and anytime you jack into the system, that's when you actually get to play as Mega Man. Biggest core features about this series is that it is grid-based combat with deck building and exploration in cyberspace. If you're an RPG person, this might be the series for you, considering that it's got addictive combat systems, a huge customization, and a strong community appeal. Everybody tends to want to play the Battle Network series. It was big back in the day, it's big now. Although this was one of the more popular Mega Man games back in the day, this still has its own weaknesses, such as some repetition here and there, especially with the encounter rate can go crazy, and it's still another one of those slower pacing rather than more action kind of games. But of course, like any RPG game, the further that you progress, the more action that there is. The game that I would recommend is Battle Network 3. Alright, now we're into the Star Force series. This is more of a successor to Battle Network with a different combat perspective. Again, the biggest thing about this game is that it is grid combat. However, it is now over-the-shoulder grid combat. Also, the battles are more faster paced, that you have to be very reactive, trying to make sure you don't get hit and you're able to react fast to counter. Some good takeaways about this series is that it's more streamlined in gameplay, and it also has a very strong emotional story that players tend to get really invested in. The couple drawbacks about this series though is that it is less depth than Battle Network, and it has more of a slower start. Again, still recommend this series to my RPG and strategy players, but more so if they want an RPG with a simpler system. There's 3 games into this series with different versions. I usually just recommend go ahead and starting off with Mega Man Star Force 1, Dragon. All right, last but not least, we got Mega Man X Dive. This is more of the gacha crossover style game, pulling characters from across like the entire franchise type of deal. The gameplay kind of sets back to the classic and X series, of course. Still action platforming, has a lot of character collecting, and you can upgrade your systems in this one. I will say, this game does have a massive fan service, and you can play as multiple characters across the series. Again though, keep in mind that this is technically a gacha game, so it's gonna have the gacha mechanics in it. Not to mention, it's not the pure Mega Man experience. This is just something that I would recommend to people who just want a variety, but also enjoy progression systems in a sense. All right, so that's all the main Mega Man that we have out so far. If you want that classic gameplay, start with the classic games or the X games. If you're more of the speed and upgrades type of deal, just go straight through the X game. If you want a challenge plus a good story and skill building, I highly recommend the Zero and the ZX series. If you want really good, decent RPG mechanics, definitely go for the Battle Network and Star Force series. Or if you're more of the exploration type, you can just go for the ZX or the Legend series. And no matter where you start, I mean, Mega Man has something out there for everyone. And honestly, that's why this series has lasted for so long. And if this helped you out, just go ahead and drop a like and tell me which Mega Man game that you're starting with.